Hello and welcome to the video. In this video I want to talk about some new technology from FrSky. Now these are the new flight controllers from FrSky. There's actually 4 that have been available. These are the 2 F3 base boards, these are the 2 F4 base boards, and there are 2 form factors which you've probably already spotted. The ones at the bottom are the more traditional square boards, standard 30.5mm mounting holes, and these 2 are flight controllers that also have power distribution boards in there as well. Now the other thing you'll have spotted is that all of them appear to have receivers on, and that's absolutely the case. Each of these have an inbuilt XSR, so rather than have to have a separate receiver, it's already all wired up, and you can go through and set up both the receiver pieces and also the telemetry bits and bobs in here as well. So that should make installation an awful lot easier. Now the XSR receiver can be flashed through the smart port pins. These are all EU LBT because I'm here in Europe, but you can flash them using the standard XSR firmwares to be whatever it is that you need. So what I want to do very quickly in this video is just kind of give you my initial impressions and talk about the differences between these, because as well as the form factor, there's a couple of other differences too. So don't worry about keeping track of all this. I'll put a quick slide up in a couple of minutes and kind of summarize all this. So the F3 based controllers here on the left hand side, they have an MPU 6050 gyro running I2C, which is going to be fine for most pilots, but an awful lot of people will be quite sniffy about that because most people want SPI. The SPI gyroscopes are installed here in the F4 version, so these are the ones that will give you a higher performance. They all feature a micro SD card for black box, so here on this F3 XSR F30 board you can see that I have that little card at the top. The idea is you're supposed to keep that in there as well, stop muck getting in if you're not using it. Similarly with the XSR F40 you can see it's got the same kind of thing, and then underneath these large ones, so this is the XSR F3PO, you can see the SD card reader at the bottom, and there with the XSR F4PO you can see exactly the same thing. So they do look very, very similar, and I'm having to try and make sure I keep them in the same place. Although it has it written on which they are, they do look, with the part of this guy that's bright red, very similar indeed. The F3 based boards have 8 PWM outputs. The F4 boards have 6. These 2 smaller flight controllers will support up to 4 to 10 volts, so you're going to need some kind of battery eliminator circuit to run these guys. And these power distribution boards, as you'd expect, you're going to be connecting your battery wires out here, and then the ESCs in the corners, they run up to 6S. All of them feature a Betaflight on-screen display, so there's the little, come on camera, there's the little max chip. So every single one of them have that kind of functionality on there, which is pretty standard these days, and I'm surprised at any board that will come out now that doesn't have that. And the smaller boards weigh about 6 grams, the big guys are a little bit heavier because of the additional copper in here for the power distribution board and the additional PCB. So these are about 6 grams, these are about 14. So rough prices, this XSR F30 is about 30 quid. This XSR F40 is about 38-ish. Then the XSR F3PO is about 43, and this guy is the XSR F4PO is about 45. So if I just put this little slide up, let me just summarize that in one easy to use graphic. So if you're not sure which one that you're potentially interested in, there's all the main specs. All this detail is available on the FrSky website, including some very, very clear diagrams of what all the pinouts are, which I'm very pleased about because some manufacturers either have very small or very bad screen printing on the boards. Sadly, there's no screen printing here at all. These boards are quite busy and they've obviously decided to skip that step, but using the manuals and the graphics on the FrSky or FrSky website, really easy to see where everything needs to be connected. If we go back to the table, there's only a couple of drawbacks that I can see with these flight controllers. The first is that only one of these boards actually exposes any UART pins for you to connect an external device to. Now with these kind of bigger boards here, you've pretty much got everything that you need to put your quadcopter together. You're going to connect your power, your ESCs in the corners, your camera and your video transmitter on the pins, and then you've got your radio receiver already done, you've got your on-screen display, you've got your Betaflight bits and pieces, you are ready to rock and roll. And the other thing you've got to be aware of is that each of these flight controllers only presents one UART, and most of them are actually presenting that spare UART underneath the board. Now that doesn't sound like a big heartache, and if you're just going to use these for simple, straightforward, easy quad builds, then that's probably not going to be a showstopper. But for those of us who want to connect lots of different things, so to have different telemetry options, to have external smart video transmitters, things like the Holybro Atlatl, and connect lots of other things like maybe even external GPSs to these flight controllers, then that single UART isn't going to be enough for those kind of pilots. The other little challenge that we've got is the layouts on most of these boards are really well thought out. So for these guys, we have the antennas that are kind of coming out the back. If you mount it in your quadcopter with the arrow pointing forward, then the USB connections at the side, and the antennas are coming out the back for you to route out the way of all the damage. These guys, a little bit more complicated. You're going to have to route the antennas yourself. That's not a big deal, there's lots of room, and the USB connectors are on the side as well. If you look at the little arrow here, you can see that the arrow is pointing forward. If you install this forward into your quadcopter, then the USB port is at the back and the cables come out the side. What a shame. It would have been great if those guys had just changed it so that the orientation of the gyroscopes and the accelerometers were pointing the same way as the F4 unit, and that way then when you installed it in the craft, the USB port would have been in the right place and the cables for the antennas would have come out the back as well. Now I'm aware that if you wanted to, you could mount the board in the right way and rotate it in Betaflight or CleanFlight, but that would then mean that the motor connections would be in the wrong corner. But I do like the fact, for those little builds that you want to do where you don't want to have a separate XSR, you can buy one of these guys and have all those connections already made. And the price point is pretty good too, because if you're looking for a flight controller of a similar spec and then buy a separate XSR, you're probably looking at more money than buying one of these things anyway. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video, and particularly for watching right to the very end. We try and release a video on Tuesday and Friday, and sometimes we'll release one or two extra ones in a week as well. All of the videos on the channel are organised into easy to use playlists, so do have a look in there, because if you're interested in a subject, we organise all the videos on that subject so you can find them easily all together in one place. If you like what we're doing, then please like and subscribe and tell others about the channel so they can come and join as well. We're available in all of the usual social media places, particularly in places like Instagram, Twitter, and we also share all of our 3D designs on Thingiverse.